I've been getting a lot of questions about how to flush or gypsy set. So we're gonna make a ring today with a flush setting. My name is Vanessa. I am a self-taught metalsmith and I am the creator of With Love Jewelry. Flush setting is honestly one of my favorite settings. I think it's just so beautiful because your gemstone is flush with the metal that it's set in. The goal for this ring is going to be a very simple band, ring band, with a single flush set gemstone. I highly recommend making yourself a needle burnisher. I made this myself. It's very simple to do. If you would like a tutorial on how to do this, just let me know in the comments and we can do an entire at the bench just on how to make a needle burnisher. Now, a big misconception with flush setting is that you need to graver around the inside of your setting so that you have a bright cut finish. As long as you have your burnisher shiny and polished well, you will create a high polish as you burnish. I'm feeling like I don't have the wire that I want to make this ring, so I'm gonna make my own wire. I think we're gonna go with half round wire for this. I'll have to change out the roller on my rolling mill. Basic half round ring. I'm not gonna lie, this is just so pretty as it is. But in order to get to the steps where we can flush set, we need to basically polish it completely up until our very last polish. So I'm gonna go through and sand this with all of my sandpaper grits, and then I'm gonna start my pre-polish and basically get it ready as if the ring were completely finished. So pretty. Okay, so we have our ring. This is just a very basic yet beautiful half round ring. And so now we have to get to how we do the flush setting. So it's very important that you have enough metal to flush set the gemstone that you're going to be setting. Meaning our gemstone is going to like a big gemstone, so you get what I mean. Unfortunately, this stunning amethyst came with a chip in it, so this amethyst needs to have enough metal, right? So that the girdle is sunken into the piece of jewelry. But you also don't want your cullet sticking out the bottom, because then, for example, if it's a ring and it's a pointed cullet, every time that person puts that ring on or takes it off, it's going to scratch them, and it's not good for the gemstone. We don't want the gemstone to be contacting the person's skin. This particular amethyst, we would need quite a thick piece of metal to be able to flush set this. Thankfully we're not, so we're going to go find a smaller gemstone so that we can begin flush setting. I've decided on a dark blue sapphire. These are the sapphires that I'm contemplating using for this ring. So we have to take some measurements before we do anything. So we will place our sapphires on there, and then taking this measurement should be a little bit easier. 1.9 mil on the larger one, and 2 mil on the shorter one. And I'm so glad that this happened, because you can clearly see that this top sapphire is larger than the bottom one, but when you look at it from the side, the smaller one is actually longer. So always measure your gemstones. And we have 1.6 mils to work with, so neither of these are going to work. 1.2. Okay, we'll go ahead with the 1.2. Now we need to know the diameter. 2.4 millimeters. If you can pick it up, it means you've got it by the diameter. So I'm just going to make a note somewhere that our gemstone is 2.4 mil big, because we don't want to open up our setting more than 2.4 millimeters. If we do, we have to get a bigger gemstone. You won't be able to flush set a small gemstone into a larger opening. It just won't work. The recommended practice for flush setting is to go below your actual gem diameter. So this is 2.4 millimeters. The general practice is to do an opening that's 2.3 millimeters in diameter, and then click your gemstone into there. We need to find the center of our ring so that our gemstone is set in the center. So what I like to do is to set my calipers to where I think about halfway is. And you don't have to be perfect, because all I'm going to do is score on one side, flip the ring over, score on the other side, and then we have our middle right in between those two sides. To begin our opening, we start with a tiny ball burr. I'm just going to use this guy. The measurement is not important right now. Because we're going to use the ball burr to make a little divot in our ring, so that when we use our drill, it goes right into that divot instead of scratching all around our ring. So now that we have our divot, we're going to use a 0.9 millimeter drill to drill a hole all the way through the ring. It's important to know that the more holes that you're drilling into your piece, meaning the more flush setting you're doing where the hole goes all the way through, the more you're messing with the structural integrity of the ring. So every hole that you drill makes the piece weaker and weaker. Now, if you're just drilling, like 6 holes all throughout this ring, it won't be something to worry about. But if you're trying to go in and pave half of the ring and you're drilling completely through, even though pave and flush setting are not the same type of setting, they do start similarly, but if you're trying to do that entire half of the ring that has holes all through it is going to be very weak. All right, so we have our first opening, and it's 0.9 millimeters in diameter. So now we are going to continue to open this up with ball or setting burrs until we get to 2.4 millimeters or 2.3 millimeters. Huge piece of advice. If you have a set, even if you don't have a set, never trust what number is given to you when you purchase the burr. Meaning, I've rearranged all of these because it might say 0.9 millimeters on here, and then I measure it and it's more like 0.7. So whenever you're checking or whenever you're doing a flush setting, check to make sure that you're using a ball burr that's the size that you think it is. Also, when flush setting, you want to open up your opening in increments. Never go more than 0.5 millimeters at a time. So if I have a 0.9 millimeter hole, the next increment, the highest increment that I would go up to next is 1.4 millimeters. I am going to see if I have something just a little bit smaller than that because I do want my opening to be gradual and to not just rip into it and try and, get to 2.4 millimeters in a single blow. So always measure. So this one says 1.4. I don't think it's 1.4. I think I moved it around. This is 1.2, which is perfect for me. We're not drilling through. We're just burring to about 60% of the ball burr, like the actual ball on the ball burr. So you can go in on an angle, but make sure that you're putting even pressure all around so you're not just like pulling your opening to one side. So from 1.2, 1.5, 1.6 is good, so we'll use this guy next. This is a 2 millimeter round burr. So now we got to start being careful. We're going to burr and check. An easy way to check your fit is to keep your gemstone flat on your bench pin and then just go over it. So it still needs to be bigger, which we know, but it's always important to check. Look how pretty that's gonna look. Unfortunately, I don't have any bigger round burrs to open up this hole to 2.3 or 2.4, but I do have this setting burr, and you can see it just rotates in there at 2.4, so this should be the perfect fit for this guy. Remember, you can always burr deeper, but you can't add metal back. I'm actually going to open up my inner hole here just a little bit from behind. So I'm going to use a ball burr and I'm just going to open that up. So there's a little cave inside, And in opening that hole, we're allowing more light to pass through so that our gemstone shines a little bit brighter. And also, it's easier to clean. There we go. So you can see we're not straight. This side is lower than that side. But do you see how you have, hold on, let me see if I can show you. Do you see how you have this little lip of metal here? And the gemstone sits right under that? That's what we want. We need that little lip of metal so that when we burnish around the stone, it sets the gemstone into place by pushing the metal over the gemstone. So this is a giant knitting needle, right? And I'm using this to hopefully show you how to burnish around your gemstone. So this is my gemstone. I'm not putting the knitting needle on the metal around it and pushing down. I'm actually angling my burnisher so that it scrapes the edges of my metal and gives pressure outward, not downward. The outward pressure will push the silver towards the path of least resistance, which is towards the gemstone, which is how we're securing our gemstone in place. That silver that's being pushed onto it will create like a frame and keep it in place. You can also use a burnishing tool to just use the tip to carefully try and trace around your gemstone. And this should be able to burnish your metal as well so that your gemstone is set. To check to make sure that you're ready to polish the ring completely, like to give your final polish, it's important to poke through the back. If you poke and the ring falls out or the gemstone falls out, you need to reset the ring, the gemstone. If you poke and it stays in place, then you're set. And it's not going anywhere. That's my flesh setting tutorial. So once you've pressed through and the gemstone doesn't fall out, you know you're set, and then you can polish however you like. I wanted to keep this ring with a nice satin finish because I just think it's absolutely stunning and the sapphire can really sparkle that way. So I'll get you closer up so you can see this. I wanted to give you a few tips as well. So once you're done burnishing, if you've like slipped off of where you're burnishing and you have little streaks here and there, you can use one of these like polishing discs or the polishing cones that are rubber. I think they're just called rubber polishing discs. And depending on your finish, if you're doing a polished finish, you would use this to clean up any streaks, and then you would go in and do your mirror finish polish. I literally, just because I'm keeping it satin, I went back in with my polishing compound around the gemstone, not over the gemstone. I don't want to scratch it or have it lose any brilliance. So I just went around with one of my brush mops, and it just buffed out anything that I didn't want over there. And then you just finish it however you like, and you're done. It took me a long time to burnish and then not have to go back and keep burnishing, and the gemstone falls out every time I poke through, and it took me a long time. I still have times where something just isn't quite right, or I'll have burnished the metal over and then I'll go and I'll poke the back of the gemstone and it pops out. But when I try and place it back in, that metal is already burnished over, so then I have to go back in with a burr and clear out that metal that had burnished over. For some reason the gemstone came out, so it's not a perfect practice for me. It's something that I'm still perfecting, but this is just my way of doing it, and I think it's a pretty decent way. If anyone has any pointers on what to make better, let me know in the comments. If this helped you, awesome. I hope you're able to do flush setting, and I hope that this brings you closer to the jewelry that you want to make. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe. I would love to have you along with me on this journey as I become a better self-taught metalsmith. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.